Hello, I'm Femi OK and you're in the stream. Today, protest will continue, so says the leader of the anti-government movement in Bangkok. What lies ahead for a deeply divided Thailand though? It's been a while since we've done a programme on Thailand. Malika Bilal, our digital producer, is looking out for your live feedback. What's happening in our community? Are they revved up?
Yeah, they're definitely revved up. And you're right, it has been a while. And we've gotten multiple requests from our community to cover this. And they all center on something like this. On Facebook, Mariama writes in, bigger protest against Thailand's amnesty bill. So we heard you. Thank you very much for this suggestion. And that's exactly what today's show is all about. But of course, this is a live discussion and you can be part of it. So for those of you at home, make sure you tweet us with the hashtag AJStream.
My name is Christine On, and I'm the executive board member of the Korea Policy Institute and a member of the National Campaign to End the Korean War, and I'm in the stream.
In Bangkok, the mood was calm on Wednesday following a truce between anti-government protesters and the police. The focus right now, though, is on Thursday's celebrations for Thailand's revered king. The latest clashes began back in November after the ruling party tried to pass an amnesty bill that critics said was designed to bring back the former PM Thaksin Shinawatra, who's also the brother of current Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra. The long-running conflict broadly pits the Bangkok-based elite against rural and working-class voters. Demonstrations aimed at toppling the government have been led by Suthep Thaugsubat, who wants a People's Council. He says that protests will continue after the king's birthday and has dismissed the insurrection charges brought against him. So, what lies ahead for Thailand? Can the country recover from such deep divisions? To help us talk about this from Bangkok, Kasit Paromia. He is the country's former foreign minister for the opposition party and a member of parliament. Also from Bangkok, Kuson Singh. He's been protesting against the Yingluck government all week. In our Google Plus hangout from Hamburg, Germany, Saksit Sayasombut. He's a blogger for Siam Voices. And Patti Tanapura is a supporter of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra's government. So gentlemen, it is great to have you all here in the stream. Let me start the conversation with Saksit. This amnesty bill, it's caused the administration in Thailand an awful lot of trouble. What's going on with it? What happened?
Yes, these anti-government protests have been sparked by the controversial amnesty bill that the ruling Pheu Thai party of Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra wanted to really ham-fisted rush through the parliament. The problem is that the version that they proposed is very broad and would not only include protesters that have been charged in the various political protests of the past year, but also absolve the leaders, also absolve people of past crimes, including ex-Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra. And that has really managed people to get the blood boiling, but not only anti-government protests. And this is the amazing thing about this piece of legislation. It is so broad that it managed to upset a broad section of the population, including their own supporters, because those responsible for the deaths in the 2010 protests would also get away with that.
So, Patti, you are a government supporter. What do you think was the aim of the amnesty bill? Usually when you think of amnesty, it's quite a positive step. It's a step to reconciliation. What do you think might have gone wrong, or did anything go wrong?
Well, I think that the amnesty bill was badly proposed. But originally it was not supposed to pardon the Prime Minister, former Prime Minister Thaksin, and not supposed to pardon the leaders, like both sides, the opposite government, neither the wretched leaders. But the amnesty bill was supposed to pardon only the rank and file, and especially those who are in jail right now. So
Patti, you're saying it was a mistake? You're saying it's a mistake?
It was a major mistake,
right,
from the government side and
sure,
from the parliament that pushed through such a bill,
right,
that was not agreed upon, because I know the person who pushed the bill, the first reading of the bill, which is not say that everybody was included in the same bag. but only separate the leaders who are responsible, and those who are rank and file who should be released, who should be amnesty during this time of the government been ruling for 2 years. They should be amnesty.
Okay.
Well, Kasit, I want to bring you in here, and I want you to pick up on something that Saksit said, which was that this upset a broad section of people. We have a video comment from someone here talking about the amnesty bill, but she has a caveat. Have a listen.
I joined in with the protest because I disagree with the amnesty bill. This bill violates the rule of law, and I believe that all law must be equal for everyone, and any wrongdoer should be punished.
So Kasit, she says that at first she joined the protest because of the amnesty bill, but after that video comment, she tweeted in this saying, I joined the protest, but now I think they've gone a bit too far. And we're also seeing tweets from people who say the Prime Minister is now inviting dialogue, but the protesters just want her to resign while she was duly elected. So what is it that the protesters are calling for? And is it democratic, as this tweet asks?
I think 2 points. I do not agree that the government made mistake. I think the government overestimated its hand and underestimated the reaction of the people, namely the aversion to the misuse of the majority rule and so on. That's the first point. The second point is that through the intervention of the military top brass, Prime Minister Yingluck had a meeting with Kun Suthep, the leader of the protester, and I think Kun Suthep given the Prime Minister an ultimatum for her to resign and let the Thai society begin anew with the people's mandate.
So I'm just looking at some of the protesters here from a blogger who's a photographer website, and these pictures are very dramatic. These are from just a couple of days ago. Saksit, what can you tell us about the protesters who are heading the street? How diverse are they?
You have to differ between the protesters.
I think the first point is...
This is to Saksit, and I'll come back to you. Saksit, go ahead.
Well, sorry, Kunkosit, but as I said, it depends. You have to differ between those that were there from the beginning against this amnesty bill and those that are still there. So the amnesty bill has been struck down in the upper house, by the way. So those that are still there, and since the agenda of the protesters have shifted to overthrow this government, a democratically elected government, I might add. So yes, there are people there that are genuinely against the government for various reasons, and then there are those that are taking part in these street protests and that are involved in these clashes. What their motivations are.
And I'm scrolling through these pictures right now, so as you talk, we can actually see some of the protesters as you speak.
Well, I mean, the thing is that they always claim that it's very anti-violent and also unarmed. I would agree only to a certain extent, but the thing is that their aim were in the last few days were to seize government buildings, to occupy the government house, to occupy police stations. And the thing is, I'm asking, and there's probably a question also to Kuson, how they were going to achieve that with peaceful means when there were barricades there, etc., etc.
All right, so Kuson, how would you achieve your aims?
Okay. I'd like to maybe rewind a little bit about the amnesty bill. I think on the side of protesting, the amnesty bill is, I guess it's the way that the bill was passed, you know, on a 4:30 a.m. in the morning. It reflects back to how the government was actually governing the country. Basically, they were governing based on, you know, a so-called, you know, majority, and they did not have
what do you mean so-called
intelligent
majority?
debate.
They were voted in the parliament with a majority.
Sorry. So yeah, what I was saying is the part of the protest, what made people also angry. It's just like the last straw, which is happening on a series of mismanagement.
And the attempt to overthrow the government is another thing. It's completely different subjects. And that the attempt to overthrow the government is illegitimate. I think that
I'd like to tie them together, actually.
They are not. Government makes mistakes here and there, anywhere in the world, right? Obama makes mistake on Obamacare, right? So any government can make any mistakes, but there is no reason, any reason why you want to overthrow the elected government. What reason? And besides, this government will stay.
So gentlemen, let me allow Kuson to reply. So Pakti is a government supporter. You are asking, why do you want to overthrow the government? Kuson, what is your response to that?
Okay, the reason why it's okay. The problem, I think, that if we have to take a bird's eye view of this this situation, is that Thuksinism.
This issue has been, I don't want you just to drop Kuson, I don't want you just to drop taxes into the conversation without explaining what do you mean for it.
This government has 2 more years. Why don't you wait? 2 more years to go.
The one fundamental thing the fundamental thing that I think we are also talking about is this government is a proxy government of Thaksin Shinawatra.
Why not?
Yes.
Why not?
And
what proxy?
And once you say that it's democratic, I think just because the first that everyone had the vote in the first place, doesn't mean that it's actually democratic all the way. And democratic systems
you mean minority?
Intelligent
protecting minority
debate.
Is democratic or what?
Pakti, Pakti, we hear your point and you're making it very strongly. So strong, in fact, I can't hear Kuson. So just hold tight for one moment. Kuson, we're really putting you on the spot here. This is a democratically elected government. You are on the streets protesting to overthrow the government because you don't like what they're doing. Pakti's saying, why not wait 2 years? Just very succinctly, tell us why you don't want to wait 2 years.
Okay, because they have already because they are already unconstitutional. Basically, they have rejected the court. Collectively rejected the court.
Kangaroo court. That one is kangaroo court. It's not the.
How can you say there's a kangaroo court?
I call it kangaroo court because that court in 2008 ruled that legitimate government was should be dismissed, and they support the rebels that occupy the airport.
So, gentlemen, I am going to push this conversation on a little bit. Pakti, allow me to push the conversation on a bit. Pakti, hold tight for one moment. I'm going to push it on a little bit because I can't get Kuson to tell me why he wants to overthrow the government. So we're going to push it on a little bit. Malika.
Well, there's a pushback, actually, Kusan. There was a tweet here from someone pushing back on what you were saying. Al-Hashi says, I'd like you to listen to this. He says, legitimacy comes out of the ballot box and not what he called the mobocracy or untested wishes of a supine, opportunistic leader.
Yes,
but there is someone that does agree with you, Kusan. Michael Chick says, Thai protesters want Thaksin's Skyprocracy government to end in Thailand. So he mentions that proxy government that you were talking about, referencing claims that Thaksin, the former prime minister, is ruling by proxy from abroad. But Kasit, I want to bring you in here because on the one hand, you have the criticism of Thaksin, but on the other hand, you have criticism of the protest leader, Suthep. Jerry on Facebook says, the advantage of an election is that it calls for a mandate from the people. A people's council is no more than an oligarchy and there's no long-term future. So can you talk to us about this People's Council that's been proposed that wouldn't be an elected council? Kasit?
You're asking me?
Yes. Talk to us about this People's Council and how that's an alternative.
Democratically, I think democratically elected government doesn't allow it to behave in an illiberal and undemocratic manner. And I think the Yingluck government has behaved in a very undemocratic manner. That's the first point. Second, by being a proxy government, it's already undemocratic in the very nature of it. And I think when the people has come out, that is the freedom of expression. They have every right to demand what they want. And if the government has not acted constitutionally, has not observed the law, they are no longer legitimate. They are no longer legitimate.
What is legitimacy?
You can only say that you are elected democratically, but it doesn't mean that you have to turn into authoritarian.
can Mr. Kasit, can
What
you
is the
define
criteria? There are
legitimacy?
18, 20 court
Criteria.
cases. A lot of corruption
Yeah,
cases, a lot of corruption cases,
no.
So, gentlemen,
abuses
I
of
hear the
power.
volume is going up, and I'm
decisions
just going to
there.
ask you one at a time. So, Pakdi, respond to Kasit. Kasit, just pause
think-
for a moment. Pakdi, yes, what do you have to say in response to Kasit?
When he said that is not legitimate.
I think
what is legitimacy? I don't see the other way, except the undemocratic country. Because
during
you can say anything. You said
during
minority.
the elections, the red shirts harassed the people who are actually
Harassed
going
what?
to the north
Where did
and
you get that
northeast,
from?
where there's a stronghold
Where did you
of
get
the
that
Reds.
from?
Basically, the red shirts
from the north and the north.
Pause for a moment.
the Thaksin
Kusan,
government
pause for a moment. I'm
is
just going to reset for a moment.
It's
Kusan,
controlling
okay, go ahead.
the people, the rural voters, that Femi was mentioning. Okay, doesn't have access, to the media, or the media that has a lot of lies. Okay, which is controlled by Thaksin. So
I got to interject
the
there. I got
previous,
to interject there here.
yeah, the previous election was actually very much unfair, if you actually remember that, yeah. And second of all, the Yingluck government actually mentioned, and she promised that there would be no amnesty. There was actually television footages, okay, which actually show that, okay, there was going to be no amnesty bill, no amnesty. And this is what they did, okay? And
They
thirdly,
promised
there's
justice for what
as
happened,
Kun
so it
Kasit
doesn't
mentioned
exclude
just
an
now, there
amnesty
was
bill.
many
Gentlemen, I'm going to
populist
call your
policies.
name, and then we're going to jump in one at a time, because nobody's point is being heard. I love the debate, but I want to hear it very clearly. So let me just move on a little bit, because this show flies by, the time flies by. So what I'm hearing is there's a deep divide going on, even amongst our guests. How would you sum up this division in Thailand, Saksit? Help us, because you're sitting in Hamburg, so you've got an international perspective. Help us as an international community understand what's going on in Thailand.
So the point of this political divide that we even have here in our conversation is, it comes down to the social fabric is changing in Thailand, and the politics is trying to catch up to that. Whether it is the electoral democracy system, whether it is other mechanisms of democracy, and it also, the point is that there is you could say a political awakening of the rural voter base, and that some people are dismissing as uneducated, as stupid, as no access to information, which is not quite true, or not true at all. And the thing is that Bangkok is not the center of the universe anymore politically, even though people like to think, or there is the saying that the rural people vote the government. Certain sections of Bangkok can topple them,
Right.
and this has to stop, in my opinion.
I want to play a little clip. Al Jazeera recently, in the Talk to Al Jazeera series, actually spoke to Prime Minister Yingluck Shinawatra, and I just want you to hear what she said about the protests and dialogue, because I want to move forward. We hear where we're stuck, but where can we go from here? So this is your Prime Minister.
That please do not close off the public service. Please do not go into the building, because it's unlawful. And then we respect of the freedom of expression within the democracy way, or within the legal way. So I think we would like to encourage all the people to do like that. So I think that's why our government opened the dialogue for the protester, that we are willing to work with you. We are willing to try to find a way that we can have the peaceful way and agree with the common of the principle that the majority accept that condition.
Gentlemen, I'm just going to ask you one at a time, just because we only have a limited amount of time. I want to hear you very clearly. Kasit, so your Prime Minister and you're an opposition MP, is talking about dialogue. So a week from now, where do you think Thailand's going to be? Will there still be protesters on the street?
I think she never does what she says, and what she says again is nonsense. She hasn't got much choice. She must leave, because she has failed in her governance completely.
Do you think she's going to leave voluntarily, or are you saying she has to be pushed out by the street protesters? I just want to make sure that we understand you very, very clearly.
I think because of I think because of her misgovernment, corruption, abuses of power, the people have come out on the street to tell her to go away. And precisely it is that and nothing else. She has no more bargaining chip. She has to leave and let the Thai people build a new Thai democratic society.
Malika.
Well, Saksit, I want to bring you in here based on what Femi just asked about what will happen after this current truce. Sniper Dean says it seems that the leader has sent many requests to talk to the opposition and protesters. They don't seem to want to negotiate. But on Facebook, Noble says the Prime Minister has to dissolve the parliament and open the way to the People's Council. The current situation is just a truce. The police will strike harder after the King's birthday. So Saksit, what do you see happening after the King's birthday? What do you see being the way forward?
I see two possible scenarios for the Prime Minister that she has right now. Either sit this one out and try to let this thing blow over and concentrate on, for example, economic policies, but then but the opposition would be still there. The other option would be to dissolve the House and make way for a re-election. But the point is that is not the protest leader and the anti-government protesters don't even accept that. They do not accept a resignation. They do not accept the dissolution of the House. They do not accept re-elections because they do not want to have any re-elections at all. They want to have this People's Council, whatever that is. I mean, it is still, to me, it looks like an appointed government, and it is very vague in every shape and form.
It's really interesting. That
maybe can I jump in here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, okay. The reason for that is because what I call Thuksinism. Thaksin has actually control. Okay, I mean each election that comes by. Okay, Thaksin manages to use his his north and northeast numbers. Okay, in order to influence. Okay, in order to gain the votes that he needs, in order to appear democratically. Okay, and in order to come in and do what Yingluck has been doing. The
All
same
right, so Kusan, I'm just going to push you very quickly because we're right at the end of the show and I want a quick answer. I'm just going to ask you and then you just answer from your heart. In a week's time, what do you want to have happened in as far as the protests are concerned? What do you need as a protester?
We want to eradicate Thuksinism and we want new politicians. Okay, and new clean politicians
by
to
next
come
week?
And pave way for Thailand.
Kusan, by next week?
No, not by next week, but eventually, yes. We need to reform the system a little bit while maintaining the democratic principles, at least, that the people are being served.
Wow.
At the highest level, yes.
This debate is by no means over, so we are going to the post show at stream.aljazeera.com with Katsin Puromya. He's a former foreign minister, now a current MP for the opposition. Kusan, you were just hearing from, he's been out on the streets protesting this week. He wants a brand new administration. Pakdi Tanapara is a supporter of the current government, and then we've also got Saksit, who will be talking really from a more broader perspective and looking at what's happening in Thailand from an international viewpoint. Where is our online community right now? Are they confused or are they with us?
No, they're completely with us, and for the time of day, I'm quite surprised, but happy to see it.
Excellent. So we are going to the post show at stream.aljazeera.com. We'll be talking about the protests in Thailand further there, but let me tell you about the next show. In a world full of conflict, like in Thailand, just how do warring parties manage to negotiate peace? We'll talk to the father of peace studies, Professor Johan Galtung. He is one, Malika, of our favourite stream guests.
He is.
You've experienced him before.
Yes.
How would you sum him up?
Best part about it is it's hard to leave the studio because you want to listen to him forever.
Oh my goodness. Get tweeting him now. What questions do you have for him? #AJStream for Johan Galtung, known as the father of peace studies. And that's all we have time for now. We'll be at stream.aljazeera.com, always online. Thanks for watching. Take care. Hello again, this is the Stream's online post show. Today in Thailand as anti-government protesters and the police hold their truce for the King's birthday. What lies ahead for the country? We're going to get right back to that conversation. And in it we have Kasit, Kusong, Pakdi and Saksit as well. It's a holiday today. It's the King's birthday. I'm just intrigued about the role of the King in all of this. I know he's not a constitutional head of state, but what impact, Kasit, does the King have on what goes on in Thailand politically?
I think the King observes the democratic rules. He doesn't intervene.
Okay.
And he would like the people, the politicians, to try to solve the problems among themselves.
Okay.
We have the Constitution. We can always recourse to the articles of the Constitutions.
So there's a leader of the protesters, Suthep Thaugsuban, and he's quite a divisive figure. Kuson,
Yes.
how would you sum him up? I mean, he's managed to get people out protesting. What's his role in the protests?
Okay. He wants to leave
I
the
think
legacy.
he has come to the realization that the Thaksin regime has become too dangerous for the country.
Okay, all right, and now,
Well-
Kusong, go ahead.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
sorry, yes.
I'm sorry.
All right, so we
I'm
have a
sorry.
delay.
I
This is
just-
the
I just
issue of the
would
delay.
like-
Kasit, go ahead and then.
I agree with Kasit. I agree with Kasit completely.
Right.
But I do not agree with the way people utilize the monarchy for political purpose. That's what Suthep is doing. He's trying to grab power by referring to the king, right? By saying that we want absolute monarchy to come back. That's the way.
I disagree. Actually, that's maybe not what he said. Sorry.
That's what he proposed.
What Suthep Thaugsuban, okay, wants is actually true democracy. Okay. He wants
not
democracy without the flavor of Thaksinism. True
democracy is mean the general election. He doesn't want it.
All right, gentlemen, I love listening in
eventually
stereo,
there
but
will be-
not to conversation. So, Pakdi, I hear what you're saying. Kuson, the question was for you, and it's taking a long time to get to you. So, everybody, this is Kuson's question. Just back away from it for a moment so Kuson can actually reply. Your opposition, your protest leader, tell me about him because he's getting a lot of critique.
Okay, yes. From before that, I think there would be, before this situation happened, you would actually see a lot of critique and mistrust in Suthep. But once you actually join the protest and see what he's communicating and see what he's actually committed to, he looks like he's committing this to be the legacy of his life, meaning he wants to be left, he wants this to be left behind as the person who eradicated Thaksinism, because Thaksinism, is more or less like a disease.
And you eradicate the Thaksin's family and
once he has taken Thaksinism
what do you mean
out
by eradication?
by adhering to the current
please explain to me
constitution,
what
Okay,
do you mean by
Pakdi,
eradication?
hold on 1 second.
checks and balances.
Kuson, this is a very
The
good
police
question.
are
Kuson,
kept
this is
in
a very...
check. Okay,
Kuson,
the police are not.
Kuson, it's a conversation. You have to stop
for the-
occasionally. Kuson.
Sorry?
All right,
Oh,
it's a
sorry.
conversation. Look up at the camera and then we're going to
Oh.
make eye contact, okay? It's a conversation, so we have to talk to each other. Pakdi made a very good point. What do you mean by eradicate Thaksinism? What does that mean?
Okay, Thaksinism, okay, in my opinion, is the comprehensive corruption through political prostitution, okay, through information control, not for the people, but for the Shinawat clan. This is, in simple terms, what it is. And it has been in Thailand for over 7 years. And we think, in my opinion, I think we can go over it. I mean,
Okay.
15 million people.
Kuson, finish your sentence. Pakdi, don't start your sentence. Bear with me for a moment. Kuson, finish your
we would
sentence. Go
have
ahead.
new politicians and and a very good democratic system, because Thaksin always tries to shake up the balance of power. The legislative.
All right. Okay, Kuson, I hear what you're trying to
Yes.
say. Do you know Suthep personally?
I follow him every now and then, but I don't know him personally.
You don't know him personally.
Yeah.
Okay, Saksit, what can you tell me about Suthep, this protest leader? Because it'd be interesting to see what happens with the protests from the holiday, the King's birthday holiday, going forward?
For me personally, it is quite amazing that a protest that is going against corruption is being led by a political veteran like Suthep himself. Who, I mean, I understand that he is trying to redeem himself here, that his legacy is not only to eradicate Thaksinism, but also to redeem himself of his past sins and allegations. I mean, he is not really a politician who has a clear slate here either.
All right, so I'm going to dip back into the community because they've been listening to this conversation. Animated conversation. Malika,
very animated. I want to take this full circle now. For those of you lucky enough to have watched us in the pre-show, Femi, you brought up the Thai way and our protest the Thai way. We got a tweet on that, and Kasit, I want to direct it to you. Munedra on Twitter says, street protests have become the default setting of Thai politics. Circa 2005 until now, without breaking the circle, there's been no real democratic progress. Kasit, would you push back on that? Is this the new way forward? Is this going to affect any kind of change, or will it peter out?
Yes, it can be seen from the fact that all the protesters come from all walks of life, every profession, and they have been against the moral way of running the government. It's a moral question that the people have come out to fight for. It's not the petty corruption and other things and so on. It's an moral, democratically elected government, and their behavior has come to the point where everyone in the country could not accept it anymore, and that is simply a new beginning for Thai democracy.
Workers as well as farmers. Many people don't agree with what
this
you
is
say.
the first time that the doctors, and academics actually, were very active about it.
They are
and
right.
these are the group of people who the poor actually trust. And this does not only comprise the Bangkok. It's actually of the South, the farmers.
Grassroots
so
you are looking down the
Pakdi, stop talking, both of you.
Pakdi,
stop talking. Kuson, stop talking.
Yes.
Okay, so I still don't get. And I think a lot of people who are watching this would not understand why you think it's okay to overthrow a government as opposed to waiting for elections. Is there anybody in our guest lineup who wants to tackle that very simply so we get it?
Can I say that?
Kasit.
I think you can. Why are people protesting in Ukraine, in Russia, in Belarus, in Egypt, in Tunisia? Simply the same thing. Elected government has become totalitarian.
Belarus?
Pure and simple, and then that has been happening in Thailand under the Thaksin regime. It's an undemocratic government, it's authoritarian, with vested interests, cheating the country, cheating the people. Pure and simple, and the people do not like it anymore.
Your people, oligarchy, the high class people, cannot accept that.
No, I think you are too far away from Thailand. Don't come and play with this Marxist dialectic of people. It's not true anymore. It's nonsense.
What you mean? You mean
it's
minority
nonsense. You are living in a dream world.
You mean
you are too far away from Thailand. Come back to Thailand. Come back to Thailand.
Come on.
Come back to Thailand.
You come back to Thailand.
Who's calling my name? I heard my name
it's not a question of the minority. Millions and millions of people have come out. How can you say that is a minority?
Should we wrap this up now?
Your majority is one family ruling the country.
To wrap up. Gentlemen, I feel that this is a very animated conversation. Everybody watching online is like, no, don't wrap it up. I am wrapping it up because there's so much more to talk about, and we're going to do that online. Our hashtag to continue this conversation with all of our guests is what, Malika?
Hashtag AJ Stream.
Are you ready for it? Are you ready to take this online?
It's already begun.
It's a little quieter online. Gentlemen, I thank you for your passion and for helping us understand a little bit more what's going on with the protests in Thailand. It sounds like you have an awful lot more work to be done there. So, moving on to the next show. On Thursday, in a world full of conflict, just how does one manage to negotiate peace? We'll talk to the father of peace studies, Professor Johan Galtung, and be sure to tweet us your questions for him. You won't want to miss that program. We will see you online. Thanks for watching.